Brad Dison here. I wonder if you remember this, or did you know this? Two American tourists took a much-needed vacation in England and Scotland, two countries that I absolutely love visiting. Scotland is probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Just about everywhere you look, it seems like it could be on a postcard. Anyway, these two tourists had visited the usual tourist attractions in London, such as Buckingham Palace, the London Eye, the British Museum, the Great Clock of Westminster, which is commonly referred to as Big Ben. They traveled to several cities in Scotland and visited the usual tourist sites there, such as Edinburgh Castle, Stirling Castle, and the Holyrood House. Finally, they decided to get away from the bustling crowds of the cities and went hiking in an area of the sparsely populated Scottish Highlands about 100 miles north of Scotland's capital city of Edinburgh. The views were breathtaking, believe me, I've been there. They hiked on the ancient winding paths at the base of the mountains along the River Dee. While hiking, they met another man and woman, Dick and Liz, who were walking in the opposite direction toward a favored picnic site. Dick and Liz rarely saw hikers in this area because it was so remote. As the hikers neared, Liz said hello and sparked up a conversation. The hikers were instantly drawn in by Dick and Liz's accents. We love a good British accent. The foursome engaged in small talk. The hikers told Dick and Liz of their travels throughout Britain and where they would be visiting on the remainder of their vacation. As the conversation progressed, one of the gentlemen hikers asked Liz where she lived. She replied, "Well, I live in London, but I have a holiday home just on the other side of the hill." "How often have you been coming up here?" the gentleman hiker asked. "Oh, I've been coming up here since I was a little girl, so over 80 years. Dick and Liz could see the gentleman was thinking about her reply. Then he asked what was one of the most frequently asked questions by a tourist in Britain. "Well, if you've been coming up here for 80 years, he said, you must have met the Queen." Liz replied, "Well, I haven't, but Dick here meets her regularly." The hikers then turned their full attention from Liz to Dick, who had spoken very little up to that point. "What's she like?" the hikers asked Dick. "Well," Dick replied matter-of-factly, "she can be cantankerous at times, but she has a lovely sense of humor." The hikers held on to every word Dick said about his meetings with the Queen. One of the hikers was so enamored that he had met someone who had met the Queen that he handed Liz his camera and asked if she would take a picture of him with Dick, to which she obliged. Then they swapped places and Dick took pictures of the hikers with Liz. After a while, the hikers said their goodbyes to Dick and Liz and continued on their hike. As Dick and Liz gave a final wave to their new hiker friends, Liz turned to Dick and said, "I'd love to be a fly on the wall when he shows the photographs to his friends in America." You see, Richard Dick Griffin really had met the Queen regularly because he was her royal protection officer. The American hikers learned at some later point that the lady who accompanied Dick on the picnic was, in fact, Queen Elizabeth II. It was only after the Queen died on September the 8th, 2022, that Dick revealed this humorous story to the world. I'm going to leave you with the video of Dick telling the story in his own words. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Brad Dison. Here's Dick.
And normally on these picnic sites, you meet nobody, but there was two hikers coming towards us, and the Queen would always stop and say hello. And it was two Americans on a walking holiday. And it was clear from the moment that we first stopped, they hadn't recognised the Queen, which is fine. And the American gentleman was telling the Queen where he came from, where they were going to next, and where they'd been to in Britain. And I could see it coming, and sure enough, he said to Her Majesty, "And where do you live?" And she said, "Well, I live in London, but I've got a holiday home just the other side of the hills." And he said, "Well, how often have you been coming up here?" "Oh," she said, "I've been coming up here ever since I was a little girl, so over 80 years. And you could see the clogs thinking. He said, "Well, if you've been coming up here for 80 years, you must have met the Queen." And as quick as a flash says, "Well, I haven't, but Dick here meets her regularly." So the guy said to me, "Oh, you've met the Queen, what's she like?" And because I was with her a long time and I knew I could pull her leg, I said, oh, she can be very cantankerous at times, but she's got a lovely sense of humour. Anyway, the next thing I knew, this guy comes around, puts his arm around my shoulder, and before I could see what was happening, he gets his camera, gives it to the Queen, and says, can you take a picture of the two of us? Anyway, we swapped places, and I took a picture of them with the Queen, and we never let on, and we waved goodbye. And then Her Majesty said to me, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when he shows us photographs to the friends in America, and hopefully someone tells him who I am.